Welcome to the Manager Lab, where we delve into the increasingly dynamic world of talent management. In each episode, we will unravel key insights, break down the most relevant books and articles, and provide actionable tips to optimize your approach in developing and retaining top talent. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the art, science, and strategy of unlocking your team's full potential. Let's enter the Manager Lab. Today we're exploring one of the more overlooked principles from John Maxwell's The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the law of timing. Maxwell says it simply: when to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. Most leaders spend enormous amounts of time trying to make the right decision. They analyze data, evaluate options, and develop plans. But Maxwell reminds us that even the right decision made at the wrong time can produce the wrong result. Leadership is not just about knowing what to do. It's about knowing when to do it. And often, timing is what separates success from failure. One of the most practical sections of the chapter is Maxwell's explanation of 4 possible combinations of leadership and timing. First, there is a wrong action at the wrong time, and that's an obvious disaster. Second, there's a right action at the wrong time. People resist, opportunities are missed, even great ideas fail. Third, there's the wrong action at the right time. You may get temporary results, but ultimately the decision still falls short. But then the fourth combination is where the leadership magic happens. The right action at the right time. That's when momentum builds, people really buy in, and organizations move forward. The challenge for leaders is that timing is rarely obvious. It requires judgment, awareness, and patience. One of Maxwell's most powerful illustrations in the chapter involves President Franklin D. Roosevelt. When Roosevelt took office during the Great Depression, the country was desperate for leadership. Economic conditions were catastrophic. Fear was widespread. Roosevelt understood that the moment demanded decisive action. Within his first 100 days, he launched an extraordinary number of initiatives and reforms. The policies themselves mattered, but Maxwell points out that timing played a huge role in their success. The nation was ready. The circumstances were aligned. The people were looking for leadership, and Roosevelt recognized the moment and acted. The lesson for managers is clear. Sometimes opportunities don't last forever. When your team is ready, when momentum exists, when people are receptive to change, leaders must move. Waiting too long can be just as damaging as moving too quickly. Many leaders think leadership is primarily about courage. But Maxwell argues that timing requires something equally important, and that's wisdom. A leader must understand the current situation, the readiness of the people, the available resources, the organizational culture, what the temperature is, if you will, and the level of urgency. Just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done today. Think about organizational change. Many managers have launched excellent initiatives only to discover that their teams weren't prepared. The vision was right, the strategy was right, but the timing was wrong. People need preparation before they need implementation. That's why effective leaders spend time creating understanding before demanding action. So key takeaway number 1 from the chapter is read the readiness of your team. One of the greatest management skills is learning to assess readiness. So before introducing a new process, ask, do people understand why we're changing? Is there a sense of urgency about it? Have they been involved in the conversation? Do they have the skills required to change? Have we built trust first? A manager's enthusiasm doesn't automatically equal team readiness. Best leaders don't just evaluate the quality of the idea, they evaluate the readiness of the audience. Key takeaway number 2, don't mistake activity for progress. Many managers feel pressure to just act immediately. But leadership isn't measured by speed. It's measured by effectiveness. So sometimes the most productive thing a leader can do is simply wait. Not because they're avoiding action, because they're preparing for successful action. Maxwell reminds us that patience is not passivity. It's strategic discipline. The leader who waits for the right moment often accomplishes more than the leader who rushes ahead. Key takeaway number 3. Watch for windows of opportunity. Great leaders develop a sensitivity to opportunity. They notice shifts in the organization. They recognize when people are hungry for improvement, and they sense when momentum is building. And then they act decisively. In many organizations, there are brief windows when change becomes easier, like a customer crisis or a market shift or a new strategic direction or maybe a very successful project launch. These moments create openness to new ideas, and leaders who recognize these windows can accomplish in weeks what might otherwise take years. So here's actionable tip number 1. Ask the timing questions. Before every major decision, ask yourself 4 questions. Is this the right action? Are the right people involved? Is the organization ready? And why is now the best time? If you cannot clearly answer the 4th question, you may need to rethink the timing. Tip number 2, build readiness before change. Don't announce change before preparing people for change. Communicate the why, share the vision, address concerns, create understanding, and the smoother the preparation, the stronger the implementation. All right, actionable tip number 3, practice leadership observation. Spend more time observing your team. Listen carefully in meetings. Watch and gauge their energy levels. Notice resistance and where it's coming from. And notice enthusiasm and where that's coming from. Great timing often comes from insights that never appear on a dashboard or a spreadsheet. The best leaders are students of people. The law of timing teaches us that leadership is not simply about making great decisions. It's about making great decisions at the right moment. A mediocre decision delivered at exactly the right time often outperforms a brilliant decision delivered too early or too late. As managers, our challenge is to develop the wisdom to recognize when our people are ready, when opportunities are emerging, and when action is required. Because leadership isn't just knowing the path. It isn't just showing the path. It's knowing when to start walking. And when leaders combine the right action with the right timing, they create something powerful: momentum, trust, and ultimately results and lasting impact. And remember, in leadership, timing isn't everything, but it is often the difference between success and failure. Well, thanks for listening. And until next time we meet in the Manager Lab, do good work.